The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber gleamed under three suns. Inside, Earth's representative James Walker sat quietly, his weathered face showing the strain of 2 decades of diplomatic service. This was the 400th time Earth had petitioned for full council membership, and like always, the chamber buzzed with barely hidden sneers from the alien representatives. The head counselor, a tall blue-skinned being, looked down from his floating platform. The council has reviewed Earth's petition. Once again, we find your species lacks the necessary advancement for full membership, perhaps in another 50 years. Walker's hands tightened on his datapad. 200 years of this same excuse. He forced himself to maintain diplomatic courtesy, even as his blood boiled. But today would be different. Today, he had proof of their lies. "Honorable Council," Walker said, standing up. "Before you dismiss us again, I have evidence to present." He pressed a button on his datapad, and holographic images filled the chamber. They showed alien figures in environmental suits, secretly entering Earth's primary research facility on Mars. The chamber erupted in whispers. Walker continued, his voice growing stronger. "These individuals were caught tampering with our faster-than-light research projects. Upon investigation, we found similar interference dating back decades. The Council has been actively sabotaging Earth's technological progress." "Preposterous," the head counselor bellowed. "These are clearly doctored images. Humans lack the capability to even detect our stealth technology, let alone capture such footage." Walker smiled grimly. That was exactly the response he'd expected. He pressed another button, and a new hologram appeared. This one showed the captured aliens in detention, along with their recovered equipment and confession statements. "We've known about your interference for years," Walker said. "We simply needed to gather enough evidence. Your arrogance made that surprisingly easy. You never bothered to check if we were actually as primitive as you assumed." The head counselor's blue skin darkened with anger. "This is an outrage. You dare accuse the Council of such actions. Guards, remove this primitive from the chamber." As security drones approached, Walker stood his ground. "You still don't get it, do you? You're not dealing with primitives anymore. We've been playing along, watching, learning, and preparing." He touched his wrist communicator. Suddenly, the chamber's defensive systems shut down. The security drones fell lifeless to the floor. Panic spread through the alien representatives. "Impossible," someone shouted. "The chamber's systems are unhackable." Walker walked calmly toward the exit. "There's a lot you've underestimated about humans. We're done playing by your rules. We're done begging for a seat at your table." The head counselor found his voice again. "Are you threatening the Council? This is illegal. We'll have your world quarantined." Walker turned at the doorway, his eyes cold. "No, you won't. Because as of this moment, Earth withdraws from all Council treaties and agreements. We're done asking for permission to advance. We're done pretending to be less than we are." He tossed a small device onto the floor. It projected a final hologram, massive shipyards hidden in Earth's asteroid belt, producing vessels far beyond what the Council thought humans capable of building. "We trusted you once," Walker said. "We believed in the idea of a united galaxy. But you proved that the Council exists only to keep power in the hands of a few chosen species. Well, now you've created something worse than a primitive species with advanced technology. You've created an advanced species with a primitive's grudge." The chamber had fallen completely silent. Even the head counselor seemed at a loss for words. "Earth will remember who its friends were during these 200 years, Walker said. "And we'll remember who stood by while we were held back. Choose your next actions carefully." With that, he walked out of the council chamber, leaving behind a stunned silence. As he boarded his shuttle, Walker sent a simple message to Earth Command. "It's done. Begin Phase 1." In the darkness of space, hidden shipyards hummed with activity, and humanity prepared to show the galaxy exactly how wrong the Council had been about Earth's capabilities. Deep within the Kuiper Belt, hidden beneath the icy surface of a nameless asteroid, General Robert Mason watched as another warship took shape. The massive construction bay hummed with activity, automated systems working tirelessly to build what would soon become humanity's sword of justice. "Status report," he commanded, his voice echoing in the control room. "Hull integrity at 100%, sir," the chief engineer reported. "The reverse-engineered Council shields are performing better than expected. We've managed to improve their efficiency by 40%. Mason nodded, allowing himself a small smile. The aliens had never imagined humans could take their primitive technology and enhance it beyond their own capabilities. Their arrogance would be their downfall. In orbit around Jupiter, another secret facility was bringing their new weapon systems online. The quantum torpedo launchers, based on stolen Council designs, had been modified to bypass standard shield frequencies. Earth's scientists had taken the basic principles and evolved them into something the Council wouldn't expect. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving reports from our spies in Council space. They're still dismissing the incident at the Council chamber as human posturing." "Perfect," Mason replied. "Let them underestimate us one last time." The preparation had been years in the making. After the first discovery of Council sabotage, Earth's leaders had made a decisive choice. Instead of confronting the Council immediately, they would play the long game. Every time the Council denied them advancement, humans were secretly leaping forward. In underground bases across Earth, soldiers trained with advanced combat suits that could match any Council species in strength and speed. The suits incorporated technology from a dozen different alien sources, all modified and improved by human ingenuity. Mason's comm unit buzzed. "General, the Council's annual inspection fleet is approaching Saturn. They're maintaining their usual patrol route." "Let them come," Mason ordered. "Activate the cloaking fields. Make sure they see exactly what they expect to see, a primitive species struggling with basic spaceflight." The Council ships passed through the solar system, their sensors detecting nothing unusual. They saw only what Earth wanted them to see: outdated space stations, primitive satellites, and basic defense platforms. The real fleet remained hidden, growing stronger each day. In a secured facility on Mars, scientists put the finishing touches on their greatest achievement. They had not only matched the Council's faster-than-light technology, but had found ways to make it more efficient. The new drives would give Earth's ships a crucial advantage in the coming conflict. "General," his aide approached with a datavat. "The last shipment of quantum cores has arrived from the Europa facility. Production is now at 300% of projected needs." Mason reviewed the numbers with satisfaction. Humanity had learned patience from their years of subjugation. They had learned to hide their strength, to wear a mask of weakness while building their power in secret. The Council's spies reported back to their masters, speaking of a dejected and primitive species nursing their wounds after their representative's outburst. They never thought to look deeper, never imagined that humans could hide entire fleets and production facilities right under their noses. In the asteroid belt, automated mining operations extracted resources day and night. To Council observers, it looked like basic mineral extraction. They didn't realize these operations were feeding the massive war machine humanity had built in secret. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the last combat simulations are complete. Our forces show a 92% success rate against known Council military configurations." Mason stood at the viewing window, watching as another warship's lights came online. "How long until the fleet is ready?" "At current production rates, we'll reach full strength in 3 months, sir." "Good," Mason replied. "The Council has had 2 centuries to correct their mistake. They chose to keep us down instead. Now they'll learn why that was their greatest error." The general turned away from the window, his face set with determination. In the darkness of space, humanity's vengeance took shape, one warship at a time, waiting for the moment to show the galaxy that the age of Council dominance was about to end. The Council's emergency alarm systems blared across their central command station. High-ranking officials rushed to their monitoring stations as unprecedented energy signatures appeared throughout Earth's solar system. "Impossible," shouted the chief defense coordinator. "Our sensors must be malfunctioning." But they weren't. Across the solar system, massive warships emerged from their hidden docks. They rose from beneath the ice of Europa, appeared from camouflaged bases in the asteroid belt, and materialized from cloaked facilities orbiting Saturn's moons. The first ship to reveal itself was the Earth flagship Reckoning, commanded by Admiral Peter Stone. Its hull gleamed with a dark metal that absorbed light rather than reflected it. The ship was 3 times larger than the Council's largest battle cruiser, its design unlike anything their archives had recorded. "This is Admiral Stone of the Earth Defense Fleet," his message broadcast across all Council frequencies. "For 2 centuries, you've treated humanity as children. Today, you'll learn how wrong you were." The Council's sensors struggled to analyze the human ships. Their hulls incorporated technology from a dozen different species, all modified and improved. What should have been incompatible systems worked together in perfect harmony, showcasing humanity's talent for adaptation and innovation. "Sir," a Council technician reported, his voice shaking, "we're detecting over 300 capital ships. They're weapon systems. They're using modified versions of our own designs, but the power readings are off the charts." The Council's defense fleet scrambled to respond, but they were too late. Human ships had already taken position at every strategic point in the solar system. The Council's supposedly secret monitoring stations were surrounded before they could even raise their shields. Admiral Stone stood on his bridge, watching as the Council ships approached in disarray. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Let's show them what humanity can really do." Every human ship activated their weapons systems simultaneously. The Council's advanced sensors couldn't even detect the new quantum torpedoes until they detonated against their ship shields. The improved weapons cut through their defenses like they weren't even there. "How?" demanded the Council's fleet commander. Their technology shouldn't be capable of this. The answer became clear as the battle unfolded. Humans hadn't just copied alien technology. They'd understood it, improved it, and combined it in ways the Council species had never imagined. Their ships moved with impossible agility, their weapons struck with devastating precision, and their shields shrugged off the Council's strongest attacks. "They're not even fighting at full capacity," one Council analyst realized in horror. "They're toying with us." Indeed, the human fleet was executing a carefully choreographed demonstration of force. They disabled Council ships without destroying them, systematically stripped away their defenses, and left their crews helpless but alive to witness humanity's true power. From his command chair, Admiral Stone watched the Council fleet's formation crumble. "Send the second message," he ordered. All across Council space, communication systems activated. Every planet, every station, and every ship received the same transmission. A comprehensive database of human technological achievements. They saw the quantum shipyards, the advanced AI systems, the improved faster-than-light drives. Everything the Council had tried to prevent humanity from developing. "This is merely a fraction of what we've achieved," Stone's voice announced. "While you watched us with contempt, we studied, we learned, and we surpassed you. Today isn't about destruction, it's about understanding. Understanding that humanity will no longer tolerate being treated as inferior." The Council's ships hung powerless in space, their crews watching in stunned silence as human vessels executed maneuvers their best pilots couldn't match. Centuries of assumed superiority crumbled in a matter of hours. "We could have shared this knowledge," Stone continued. "We could have advanced together. Remember that in the days to come, you chose this path, not us." As the message ended, the human fleet moved into its final formation. Hundreds of ships, each a testament to human ingenuity and determination, their mere presence rewriting the galaxy's power structure. The age of Council superiority was over. The era of humanity had begun. The Council's primary military installation on Proxima Base had stood undefeated for 1,000 years. Its quantum shields were said to be impenetrable, its defense grid unmatched across known space. It took humanity's forces exactly 6 minutes to break through. Commander Mark Rogers watched from the bridge of the assault carrier Defiance as human ships executed their attack with surgical precision. The Council's defenders had expected a frontal assault. Instead, Earth's fleet had appeared simultaneously at every weak point in their defense network. "Target their shield generators," Rogers ordered. "Let's show them what those 200 years of preparation got us." The new human weapons struck with devastating effect. While Council ships relied on brute force, humanity had developed weapons that bypassed shields entirely, using the enemy's own defense systems against them. Quantum torpedoes phased through barriers, emerging inside the protected zones to devastating effect. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "the enemy is attempting to adapt their shield frequencies." Rogers allowed himself a grim smile. "Let them try. Activate the AI battle systems." The Council's defenders watched in horror as human ships seemed to predict their every move. What they didn't know was that Earth's combat AIs had spent decades analyzing Council battle tactics, creating counter-strategies for every possible scenario. At 3 other major Council installations across the galaxy, the same scene played out. Earth's forces struck with overwhelming force and precision, systematically dismantling defenses that had stood for centuries. "Enemy commanders requesting terms of surrender," the communication officer announced. "No terms," Rogers replied. "They had their chance for diplomacy. Continue the attack." On Proxima Base's surface, Council soldiers broke ranks and fled as human dropships landed. The combat suits worn by Earth's troops made them more than a match for any Council species. They moved with impossible speed, their weapons cutting through the strongest armor. "Section 3 secured," reported Ground Commander Lisa Hayes. "Their troops are retreating in disorder. They've never faced an enemy that could match them physically before." The Council's emergency broadcasts filled the communication channels, each message more desperate than the last. Their mighty fleets, which had kept the peace through force for a millennium, were being systematically destroyed by the very species they had dismissed as primitive. "Sir," Rogers' sensor officer called out, detecting Council reinforcements approaching through hyperspace. "Perfect," Rogers said. "Spring the trap." As the Council relief fleet emerged from hyperspace, they found themselves surrounded. Human ships had been waiting in stealth mode, their improved cloaking technology rendering them invisible, even to the Council's best sensors. "Enemy fleet arriving exactly as predicted," the tactical officer reported. The AI's battle simulation was accurate to within 0.3%. The new arrivals had no time to react. Human weapons struck from all directions, their ships trapped in a killing zone they hadn't even known existed. Centuries of Council military doctrine proved useless against humanity's unconventional tactics. Back on Proxima Base, the last defenders threw down their weapons. Commander Hayes' troops had taken the impregnable fortress in less than an hour, suffering minimal casualties. "Final status report," Rogers demanded. "All primary targets secured, sir. Council forces are in full retreat across all sectors. Their command structure is in chaos." Rogers nodded. The Council had never faced an enemy like humanity before. They had grown complacent in their power, relying on the same tactics and technology that had served them for centuries. They hadn't understood that by trying to keep humanity down, they had forced them to become more innovative, more adaptive, and ultimately more dangerous than any species they had encountered before. "Send word to Fleet Command," Rogers ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. We're ready to begin Phase 2. As his ships regrouped for their next assault, Rogers thought about the centuries of humiliation his species had endured. The Council had thought they were containing a potential threat. Instead, they had created exactly what they feared most, a species with both the technology and the will to end their dominion. The galaxy was about to learn a harsh lesson. Never underestimate humanity's capacity for advancement, especially when driven by righteous vengeance. Admiral Thomas Reed sat in his command chair aboard the Vindication, watching as another delegation of alien representatives begged for protection. The scene had become common over the past week as news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy. The Centauri systems offer their complete surrender, a trembling alien diplomat announced. We were wrong to support the Council's actions against Earth. Please accept our pledge of allegiance. Reed listened silently, noting how quickly former enemies became allies when faced with humanity's overwhelming power. Just 3 days ago, these same Centauri had sent ships to support the Council's defense. Your surrender is accepted, Reed finally said. But remember this moment. Remember how quickly your loyalty shifted when the tide turned. Across Council space, similar scenes played out. Species that had once looked down on humans now scrambled to switch sides. Earth's military commanders received endless transmissions of surrender, pledges of support, and offers of technology and resources. Sir, his executive officer reported, the Arcturus Federation is requesting immediate military assistance. Council loyalists are attacking their main colony worlds. Deploy Battle Group 7, Reed ordered. Show them what happens to those who side with humanity. The battle was brief and decisive. Human ships appeared above the Arcturus colonies, their advanced weapons making short work of the Council forces. The message was clear. Earth protected its allies, even its newest ones. In the Council's former strongholds, human troops maintained order as power structures centuries old crumbled. Species that had been oppressed under Council rule looked to Earth as liberators, while former ruling races found themselves stripped of their privileges. Another report from the ground teams, his intelligence officer announced. We've discovered more evidence of Council corruption. They weren't just holding Earth back. They were suppressing dozens of emerging species. Reed stood at his viewing window, watching as captured Council ships were retrofitted with human technology. Send the evidence to all our channels. Let the galaxy see what their noble Council really was. The data spread quickly. Records of systematic oppression, technological sabotage, and political manipulation painted a damning picture. Species that had been hesitant to support Earth now pledged their loyalty, seeing humans not as conquerors but as liberators. Incoming transmission from Earth Command. His communication officer called out. The Council's last major fleet has been detected gathering at Proxima Station. They still think they can turn this around, Reed mused. Send the ultimatum. The message was simple. Surrender now and face justice, or continue fighting and face extinction. Humanity had shown mercy to those who yielded, but their patience with the Council's old guard was wearing thin. In his private quarters later, Reed reviewed the day's reports. 57 systems had pledged allegiance to Earth. 32 former Council races had requested protection. The balance of power wasn't just shifting, it had completely reversed. Sir, his aide interrupted. The Orion Confederation is requesting permission to join our fleet actions. They're offering their shipyards and resources. The same Orion Confederation that blocked our trade routes last year? Reed asked. Yes, sir. They say they were, misguided by Council propaganda. Reed laughed without humor. Tell them their offer is accepted. But they'll operate under human command, and their ships will be retrofitted to our standards. The aide nodded and left. Reed turned back to his view of space, remembering the days when humanity had begged for scraps of knowledge from these same races. Now they came asking for Earth's protection, Earth's technology, Earth's guidance. Status update. He called to his bridge crew. How many systems remain loyal to the Council? Less than 20, Admiral, and that number decreases hourly. Reed nodded. The Council's power was breaking faster than even their most optimistic predictions had suggested. Their arrogance had built humanity into the very force they had feared. And now they were paying the price. Send word to all commands, he ordered. Phase 3 begins at dawn. Let's finish this. The galaxy was witnessing the rise of a new power, one forged in the fires of oppression and tempered by determination. Humanity was done being underestimated. Inside the commanding bridge of Earth's flagship, Retribution, Fleet Admiral William Cole stood watching holographic displays of Council diplomats begging for peace talks. Their once proud voices now trembled with fear as they offered increasingly desperate concessions. The Council is willing to acknowledge Earth as the supreme authority in all known space, one blue-skinned diplomat pleaded. We'll surrender our remaining fleets, our technology, everything. Cole let them talk, remembering how these same voices had dismissed humans as primitives mere months ago. The displays showed Council worlds in chaos as their populations realized the extent of their leaders' deceptions. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we've detected Council ships trying to flee to unexplored space. They're carrying high-ranking officials and military commanders." "Intercept them," Cole ordered. "No one escapes accountability for what they did to Earth, and to all other species they suppressed." Human warships moved with lethal efficiency, cutting off escape routes that the Council had thought secret. Their supposedly hidden passages through space had been mapped by Earth's intelligence services years ago. Another diplomatic transmission, his communication officer announced. "The Council's High Command is offering unconditional surrender." "Tell them what we've told all the others," Cole replied. "The time for diplomacy ended when we discovered their sabotage. They chose this path. Now they'll see it through to the end." Earth's forces continued their advance across Council space. Unlike the Council's regime of oppression, humanity's forces protected civilian populations while targeting military and political infrastructure. This approach won them even more support from formerly neutral species. "Admiral," his executive officer reported, "we're receiving transmissions from Council colony worlds. Their populations are rising against their leaders. They're requesting Earth's protection." Cole nodded. "Deploy peacekeeping forces. Show them the difference between Council rule and human justice." The Council's last desperate gambit came 3 days later. They threatened to destroy their own technological archives if Earth didn't agree to negotiations. The response was swift and devastating. "Launch Operation Memory," Cole commanded. Across Council space, human ships revealed another secret. They had already copied and improved upon all Council technology. The threat was meaningless. Humanity had surpassed their technological level years ago. "Sir," his intelligence officer called out, "we're detecting mass resignations among Council leadership. Many are surrendering directly to our forces, trying to avoid trial for their crimes." Cole watched the tactical displays as another Council fortress fell to Earth's forces. Their once mighty defenses, built up over centuries, crumbled before humanity's advanced weapons. "They still don't understand," he mused. "This isn't about revenge, it's about justice. For Earth and for every species they kept down." The evidence of Council crimes continued to mount. Secret facilities where they had tested methods to suppress technological development. Hidden prisons where those who questioned their authority disappeared. Each discovery justified humanity's refusal to negotiate. "Message from Earth Command," his communication officer announced. "The final phase is authorized." Cole straightened his uniform. This was the moment they had planned for. Launch the quantum beacons. Across every Council world, massive holograms appeared in the sky. They showed the truth. Centuries of Council manipulation, the deliberate suppression of species, the corruption that ran through their entire system. "Let them see," Cole ordered. "Let everyone see what they've been serving." The Council's remaining support crumbled as their populations witnessed the evidence of their leaders' crimes. The few loyal military forces found themselves facing not just Earth's fleet, but rebellions on their own worlds. "Final status report," Cole demanded. "Council military resistance is effectively finished, sir. Their remaining forces are either surrendering or being captured by their own people." Cole nodded. 2 centuries of humiliation had led to this moment. The Council had created their own worst nightmare, a species that had learned from their oppression and evolved beyond it. "Send word to all commands," he ordered. "The Council era is over. The age of humanity begins now." Across the galaxy, the message spread. The species that the Council had dismissed as primitive had become the force that ended their reign. And unlike the Council, humanity remembered what it meant to be the underdog. 1 year after the fall of the Council, the great chamber that had once housed their meetings now served a different purpose. Fleet Admiral Cole and Grand Marshal Rogers stood before representatives from every known species, outlining humanity's vision for the future. "We remember what it meant to be held back," Cole addressed the assembly. "Earth will not repeat the Council's mistakes. Every species has the right to advance, to grow, to reach their full potential." The chamber, once a symbol of oppression, had been rebuilt. Gone were the elevated platforms that had placed Council species above others. Now all representatives sat as equals, their voices carrying equal weight in discussions. "The crimes of the old Council have been documented," Rogers continued. "Their leaders face justice not just for their actions against Earth, but against all species they suppressed. Never again will power be concentrated in the hands of a privileged few." Across the galaxy, human peacekeepers worked alongside local forces to maintain order. Earth's technological advances were shared freely with allied species, lifting countless worlds out of artificial darkness imposed by Council restrictions. "Humanity's first act," Cole announced, "is to establish the Galactic Development Initiative. Every world, every species, will have access to the knowledge and resources they need to advance." The assembly erupted in approval. Species that had been deemed too primitive by the Council were already showing remarkable progress under human guidance. Worlds that had been kept in technological darkness for centuries were now reaching for the stars. "But remember," Rogers warned, "with advancement comes responsibility. Earth will not tolerate the suppression of other species. Any attempt to follow the Council's path will be met with immediate consequences." In orbit above the assembly world, Earth's mighty fleet served as a reminder of this promise. But unlike the Council's ships of oppression, these vessels now protected the weak and supported the developing. "The second phase begins today," Cole continued. "We're establishing joint research facilities across the galaxy. Human scientists will work alongside other species, sharing knowledge and pushing the boundaries of what's possible." Reports flowed in from across known space. Former Council worlds were transforming under the new order. Species that had once fought each other now worked together, united under humanity's firm but fair leadership. "We've discovered something remarkable," Rogers addressed the assembly. "When species work together freely, without artificial restrictions, advancement happens at an unprecedented rate. The Council didn't just hold us back, they held back the entire galaxy's potential." In the chambers below, the last Council leaders awaited trial for their crimes. They would face justice not from humanity alone, but from representatives of every species they had wronged. "Earth remembers its friends," Cole declared. "Those who stood with us in our darkest hours will always have humanity's support. Those who learned from their mistakes and joined us in building a better galaxy will find us fair allies." The assembly watched as holographic displays showed the progress already achieved. New technologies developed through cooperation. Worlds lifted from poverty through shared resources. Species once deemed hopeless now making remarkable achievements. "This is humanity's promise," Rogers concluded. "We will be the guardians this galaxy needed. Not through fear like the Council, but through justice, opportunity, and protection for all who seek to advance." As the assembly concluded, representatives from hundreds of worlds pledged their support to the new order. The galaxy was entering an unprecedented age of cooperation and advancement, guided by the species that had once been dismissed as primitive. "Monitor the reports from the outer systems," Cole ordered his staff later. "Make sure every world gets the support they need." "Sir," his aide reported, "we're receiving requests from unexplored regions. New species seeking Earth's protection and guidance." Cole nodded. Humanity had transformed from the oppressed to the protectors, from the restricted to the liberators. They had learned from their years under Council rule, both what to do and what to avoid. "Send them our response," Cole commanded. "Tell them Earth welcomes all who seek to grow, to learn, and to contribute to our united galaxy." The age of the Council was over. The era of humanity had begun, bringing with it the promise of a truly united galaxy where every species could reach for the stars without fear of suppression.